People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on.
There's always just that active and that defending. I think like.
Downside!
There's always just that active and that defending. I think like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on.
As the big man Ian Wright just said there, people deluded, I'm back again. One love for you lot tuning in. If you're on Twitch, appreciative. If you're on YouTube, please make sure you're smashing the like button. Now, as you can see behind me, Tottenham Hotspur against Arsenal. Tomorrow we will go live for a watch along in relation to that. And we all know the connotations of the game. Obviously, Arsenal versus Spurs. It's not really a trophy decider or a title decider on Spurs' end. You know, they're our little brothers. They're jealous of us, despite the fact they also moved to North London. We moved to North London, made it relevant, won 2 Premier League trophies over here, you know, at their ground, and I understand it. Now, they would love nothing more than to spoil our day, realistically. You know, that's what Tottenham Hotspur live for. That is the existence of that football club. Banter aside, I do think Postecoglou's a good manager. I do think they're aspiring for better, but there's levels. And they would love nothing more and nothing better than to be the ones to put a nail in our coffin. Now, there are other realities where we could drop points and still win the Premier League title. Disclaimer, I don't look at the Premier League title. The same goes for City and the same goes for Liverpool. But with 4 games left, I do think the dynamics are pretty simple. You win your 4 games, easier said than done. Football is this, you know, is spoken about on paper. It's decided on the grass. And you win the title, really and truly. We see in City clicking into gear, and Pep Guardiola's gone over that. You know, Liverpool have dropped points and are now, you know, falling behind everyone in the chasing pack. Arsenal with Mikel Arteta could claim the first Premier League trophy of the Emirates era and go one better than last season. But with us going to Old Trafford, with us playing Everton, with a tricky test against Bournemouth at home as well, really. And obviously tomorrow is crazy. Now, I don't know where you lot stand on the debate where Tottenham versus Spurs are. Tottenham versus Arsenal are. Beyond the obvious, I think it will be an emotional game, really. And I'm keen to see how both teams set up. Obviously, you know, you look at the Everton game, Liverpool have a near enough, you know, spotless record at Goodison Park. It came down to pride, desire, and giving a moment to the fans. That's what they needed to. That's what they did, and that's what Spurs could obviously be leveraging on. Obviously, we won there last season, and I wonder how it will start. I do imagine the first 5-10 minutes probably a bit of an emotional start because of the talking points with Arsenal, the talking points with Spurs, the derby, the passion, all of that sort of stuff. But then I think that on one hand, but then I think it'll be an explosive game, one for the neutrals, goals. We know with Harry Kane not being there, you know, they're still going to get penalties. But on the other hand, is it a thing where both teams not waiting for the opposition to do something, but it's a bit of a chess match because I don't think we can go gun-ho. I want us to learn our lessons from the last game that we played in the North London derby. Ultimately, football's decided at both ends. If you don't defend well enough and you don't score more goals than your opponent, you haven't done enough. And I think, you know, we just need to watch the North London derby again if we're talking about Arsenal, because should have killed the game in the first 10-20 minutes. We started very well. Obviously, we got the goals, but you gave them a glimmer back into the game with switching off defensively. Obviously, Declan Rice going back then came off at halftime, and it was a bit open. We know they're going to play their high line. You know, if they go machine for machine with us, gunshot for gunshot, it could get long for Tottenham, really and truly. But we can't act like they haven't got weapons in their arsenal that could harm us. I actually think, considering Maddison's form and Saka's form, they might decide the game. When you look at it, both teams have a decent record against the top 6. Both teams, you know, we're a massively better defensive team than Tottenham. They've to say they've been putting clean sheets of recent has been shocking. But when you look at shots faced, there is also that, and it's quite close. So I do think it's an interesting dynamic. Spurs struggle to break down low blocks. Now, I'm not saying we have to over-respect Spurs beyond, you know, the respect you have to have for an opponent. But if they struggle to break down low blocks, and we're a decent defensive side, and we've shown what I couldn't tell you the last time City failed to score. We went to the Etihad and kept a clean sheet. I'm not saying we need to play like that, but I'm not saying low blocks. But I want us to see. I want Arsenal to be spot on defensively, because they won't get any change. And I would say one thing about my football club. I'm not saying we're the biggest and baddest in the land and we're the best team in the world and all of that sort of jazz. But genuinely, when we've lost this season, there hasn't been too many times where we've been terrible, where we've not been at the races, where we've not been good. You know, I would say Fulham away, West Ham in the League Cup. But I do think when we've dropped points, even when we've won games, there's been elements of shooting ourselves in the foot, which evidently the last North London derby, you could say the same against Chelsea. You could say the same with the 2 games against Bayern Munich. You could say probably not putting the ball in the back of the net against West Ham and Aston Villa away. Aston Villa away, a bit like the North London derby, where one half was kind of decent, second half we fell off. And I don't know where you lot stand on it, people. And, you know, there has been consistency up and down the country with Arsenal, where we played at home or away. But for me, I think we're better away from home. It sounds mad, but I think we're too entertaining for the neutrals at the Emirates. You know, we spanked Chelsea and did what we needed to do. But I think there's too much drama. You look at the, you know, with the exception, City's not the best example, but how the City game went at the Emirates, how the North London derby went at the Emirates, games against Luton and Brighton, Manchester United back in September, August, away from home in a nice way. We're boring. We do what we need to do. We rock up empty stadiums and keep it moving. And I want to kind of see that. There's no margin for error. If it is to go left for Arsenal, we don't win the Premier League title, don't let it be because of these lot, because this is what they live for. As Martin Keown said on TalkSport, these men don't have their own targets. Obviously they do, but their season is centered around Arsenal. The whole reason Tottenham Hotspur's existence in the Premier League is the premise of Arsenal. You go back 3-4 years ago, they were big up Leicester for getting promoted, but they were saying there's Leicester and Spurs are bigger clubs than Arsenal, and it's where Spurs are. They've replaced us in the top 6 and all of that sort of jazz. And to be very honest with you, where you look at the North London derby, last year we did well, but when was the last time we won consecutive seasons at their place? And obviously, I want to smash them, because one game that will always haunt me, we haven't lost too many games generally in my lifetime against Spurs, you know, in 29 years of age, mathematicians allow me. There's 2 games that kind of scar me, if I'm honest with you. One would evidently be... do you remember the League Cup? It feels like we lost 4-5-1 early Emirates days. Like we lost 4-5-1. And I would say you go back 2 years where, you know, unfortunately we lost out to Tottenham in the top 4 race, and they battered us at their place. So this is where we need to learn, man. Sorry to change the subject, but thoughts on the new Liverpool manager, Arne Slot? I'm not a religious know of him, but naturally, him being Dutch or wherever he's from, respectfully, I think he's got a good way of playing. I do think defensively he's a bit of a shambles. I do think he's got an impressive philosophy, but I hope he's a board fraud like Eric Ten Hag. It's as simple as that, man. But yeah, man, keep your questions, talking points, etc. coming. Don't forget to smash the like button. Obviously, we're going to go over what Mikel Arteta has said. Mitoma isn't a bad option, but the source to the rumour, I think you mean come from a Spanish journalist. Again, you're right on that. And I think Mitoma's a player that everyone's going to be interested in. But yeah, I think he's a good dribbler. I don't know what his statistics are saying, but it doesn't feel like he's been, you know, the man of the moment like he was last season. He's a good option, but surely Brighton are going to overprice him. And it's not that I don't rate Mitoma. Don't think he's not good, because, you know, Tomiyasu could give him a great character reference. Personally, I'd rather explore other options first. But, you know, you won't catch me upset if we do sign Mitoma, which I don't believe in. I'm not going to say hell no to Mitoma. Lost 23 games this season and the ship sailed. Big up DG. Mitoma sums up everything about our scouting. Does that mean it's good or bad? With the 5-0 spanking we gave to Chelsea, Spurs will definitely try to get on the counter, relying on Son and Kula's speed. The defense has to be on high alert. 3-1 to Arsenal for me. I hear that. And you know what? With Declan Rice, Gabriel and Saliba, I hope we're spot on defensively, you know. And you know what? I think the difference is Partey, you know. I really do. You know, with the greatest of respect to Jorginho, I'm not getting at Jorginho at all. He's, you know, in whether the Raiders season ends or not, I do think he's probably played more games than Arteta would have liked, and he's done quite well. And you could argue Postecoglou and how he's managing and what Arteta does, it is a chess match. But I think it's going to be open. That's where Jorginho struggles. He struggled in the North London derby in the second half. He made the mistake. Yes, I'm not even getting onto him for the mistake. It happens. He knows he shouldn't have done that, but it was too open for Uncle Jorginho. At Chelsea in Stamford Bridge, him and Zinchenko struggled. They were drowning, and Zinchenko got hooked at half time. I think Thomas Partey is the difference because obviously him, Declan Rice, and Odegaard is what us Arsenal fans would like to see on a consistent basis. We consider that our first choice midfield trio, and we've been starved of that. But I think obviously Partey gives you an added layer of defensive protection and athleticism. Declan Rice is Declan Rice, and Odegaard does everything in this system. And you could also extend that to Tomiyasu. I think they're the differences, if I'm honest with you. We did rock up with Zinchenko last year and won, so I'm not trying to diss him, but I think they're the difference, man. I think it gives us a lot, really. So I want to really see them stand up to be counted. Obviously, you'd imagine Benjamin White's going to have a big day up against Son. You just got to win the war. You know, I do think football's quite mad, and I think like Kirill was terrible against Bayern Munich, but I do think football fans or social media fans, it's a bit weird. Like if you go back to the City game at the Etihad, yeah, I don't know about anyone else, but it feels like in today's day and age, if a player goes past the defender, they're under the cosh. Like these are Premier League footballers, really. So why I'm rambling about that is to say I want Benjamin White to win the wars. I expect Son to go past you and do some skills and stuff. He's a great player, as long as it doesn't come to anything. Win your battles, really. If he tries to dribble past you 10 times and he's successful 4 times, but you've pocketed him 6 times, you won your battle. Everybody needs to get their mind in the right way. Everybody needs to control their individual performances, and then for me, the collective will take care of itself. Gooner, what says you? Fan club or money club? What do you prefer? I hear that. I don't know, man. Like, every club's a fan club, really. If you're talking money and it means we can, you know, get Declan Rice and spend mad money like that, then I'd say money club, really and truly, if I'm honest. I don't really understand the question. Big up yourself, Josh. I don't blame Jorginho for the second goals in the North London derby. I blame Arteta. He played Jorginho as a lone 6. We had El Nene on the bench. We should have got him on as well as Jorginho. I hear that because El Nene does provide legs. It sounds a bit disingenuous. Obviously, Jorginho is a professional athlete and things, but that's not a strength of his. When it's open spaces, and there's been games where it's been open and he's done well, but where the games are open spaces, he's in problems. And big up yourself, Fate. You said it there. We need an 8. Our midfield is crying out for a tempo controlling centre mid. There's nothing more I can add on to that. Then you're bang on the money, man. I think for us to go to the next level, you need to address midfield. I think if we look at the starting 11, obviously we'll get onto the other bit, but if we look at the starting 11, you know, big them up. Everyone can be part of the squad. If everybody's playing well, then you keep your spot, all of that sort of stuff. But to go to the next level, we need to address the middle of the park. As you said, you need that left 8. For me, you need another winger, someone that can genuinely push Saka, and I'd say more so Martinelli, because I don't think Martinelli's consistency levels are there. And with the greatest of respect to Havertz, who's doing well and doing his thing, and I'm not saying to alienate him, but you need a striker. Where you look at our depth, there's been times you would love Declan Rice to come off the bench and all of these things, or come off the pitch and be rested for a period, but we don't have that. We need an 8, and there has to be some correlation with, you know, I say it all the time. Last season was the first time in a while as an Arsenal fan where it genuinely, and again, I can't say we're not a threat down the left because goals have come down there. But last season, it felt like we equally looked dangerous down the left-hand side. Obviously, them times with Zinchenko, with Xhaka, with Martinelli primarily, as well as on the right with Odegaard, with Benjamin White and Saka. Now we're a bit more lopsided once again, really. And I think a bit of that is because, you know, Havertz tends to pull to the right more than the left ever so slightly. I don't think we've got that profile that, you know, a direct kind of replacement for Granit Xhaka. There's been inconsistencies with left back. Obviously, Timber's injury threw a spanner in the works. And I've said it in a video before, but one does wonder, or I wonder anyways, as good as we've been and as good as we can be, if Tommy as well, but if Thomas Partey, and Timber were fit, I think we would have really loved what Arteta had planned in August for us, but it wasn't the case. Obviously, Kyrgios done well, but he's not a long-term option at this moment in time, in my opinion, at left-back. Tierney's gone. You know, Zinchenko can run in midfield and do all of that. Defensively, you're never going to have any real confidence in Zinni, and the only thing you can knock about Tomiyasu is his inconsistencies with staying fit, essentially. So, yeah. Make sure you're smashing the like button. Shout out Pure Vibes, man. It's a massive game tomorrow, and we hope Partey is fit. Sorry, I meant oil club like City and PSG. I'd love the oil money to go with Arsenal's history if that answers it. I thought the Chelsea game, we were good both sides with Rice, Trossard and Tommy doing their thing. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you're right. At the Emirates, you're right. But typically, that hasn't been the case all season. 9 times, and it's silly to say because goals have been spread out. But for me, 9 times out of 10, if it's not happening with Odegaard and Benjamin White and Saka and these kind of guys, then we're kind of crippled. And again, I think teams know that. And Arteta always talks about consistently evolving. On the topic of Arteta, it wouldn't be fair to Arteta or to you lot if we didn't go over his press conference. On the title chances, now we are there. We have to look at ourselves and try to perform in the best possible way to win our matches. And I can't wait to see what happens. That's what we discussed. It sounds a bit repetitive, but it's what we have to do. And he did say previously, this is the most enjoyable part of the season. Obviously, we can't be stupid. Liverpool losing adds a spanner in the works for their own title aspirations. And what a farewell tour it's been for Jurgen Klopp people, but they're still in it. So to suggest it's just a two-horse race is a myth. I don't think so. I think this league is tremendously demanding and there can still be a lot of turns. We all know how difficult it is to win games in this league. On how pleased he's been with April, it's been great. Not just the results, but the performances as well. We had a big one in the last London derby against Chelsea. Now we have another big one. I'm sure we're going to do it. We're going to have to beat Spurs as well. Now, Arteta wants to win games. But sometimes he's a bit diplomatic. He says we have to beat Spurs there. It's as simple as that. On how much tougher the squad is this season, yeah, the availability we mentioned before is going to be something key. It's true that apart from Timber, we're going to be very close to having everybody available, and that's a huge boost. That elevates the training sessions, the competition between the players, and to pick the right lineup to change the game is something really important. On the development of the squad, obviously, we are fully focused on this one because of what's at stake, and we really want to get the job done. We know as well that it's a very young team with a really bright future and still a lot of room for improvement. We will try to keep developing it. On the schedule compared to Spurs, as you know, Spurs have had basically 2 weeks off. We're going to be fully ready. We had a bit of time as well to recover and prepare from the Chelsea game. I'm sure the team is going to be fully ready to go again on Sunday. And that's an interesting one because obviously the first way you can look at it is we've had more games. Spurs have had longer to rest. They should be sharper. But then you could argue that, you know, we've been playing consistent games. We've been playing games where in the rhythm, their foot might be off the gas. So I do think it's an interesting game where there's plenty of talking points, if I'm honest with you people. But it comes with the territory. Look at City. I mean, if City was still in the champs and them things there, they would have even more games, really. That's the territory we want to be in. He then said, it's another game that we managed to win in a convincing way, and that's something that we cannot control. So this is what we have to do. On selection headaches, it's a good headache. Though, yes, you feel for the players a bit as well because of how much they want it and how much everyone wants to start and contribute to the team and impact the team in the right way. So it's always difficult and it's part of the job as well. They're fully ready to commit on the pitch at whatever time we need them to try to help us win matches. Their spirit is so good. Then he went on to say, more motivation, if anything, because you know what you can give to people, which is a lot of joy and happiness. If we manage to win the game, when you have the chance to do that, that's in your hands. You really want to make the most of it to try and make it happen. He then bigged up Postecoglou. I'm definitely not getting into that, people. On what he's telling our players, enjoy the moment, try to navigate this in a neutral way. They are super competitive at the moment. Everything we're doing in training sessions is to compete. It's a really good sign because we know what we're going to have to do if we want to win it, and that's it. We have to raise the bar every day in training to try to match that. So when we play our games, we're ready. Smash the like button, and don't forget, on the topic of the North London derby, we're doing a watch along tomorrow. We kick off at 2 p.m. UK time. I'm live from 1 p.m. It's pinned to the live message for you lot on YouTube, people. Big up the Twitch gang, though. On Kai Havertz, he said, on the decision to sign Havertz, it's not my decision, it's our decision. I hear that, manager, but you're the one managing. You led the front on that. But then again, he did say Edu was the one pushing for Odegaard. So you never know. We were super aligned with the club's vision. And then obviously on the sporting side, we made a recommendation. A lot of people were involved. And when you need the ownership to back you as well and make things happen, we were very convinced that they were characters first. They were players with the right qualities to fit within our model, our club. And sometimes it takes a bit of time. That's inevitable. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. I try to minimize them and try to at least generate the environment and everything the players need to fulfill their potential. On whether the squad will challenge for a while to come, I hope so, but that's something that you're going to have to show every season, every game. And in this league, that's extremely difficult to do. We've done it 2 years in a row, but we're not satisfied with that. We want to win it. We're going to do everything that we can to win it. If we do win it, we'll try to win it again, and we don't. And if we don't, for sure, we'll try again. I don't think anyone can think you with that, man. Dead press conference. The questions are a joke. Poor journalism in the UK. Do you know what it is? I can't get at them for asking that, but let's be honest, a lot of the journalists of all football clubs, yeah, they're kind of briefed on the questions to ask, and a lot of them don't ask. Not that there's difficult questions to ask at this moment in time, but they don't ask the difficult questions because they want to still make sure they get their tickets to Arsenal and all of these sort of things. This Martinelli guy is so frustrating. He's on the chopping block for me. Pure vibes. Keep the faith, man. Keep the faith. I understand it. He's volatile, and I would say the one thing stopping Martinelli, or the one thing I want to see from Martinelli, is you got to take a leaf out of Saka's book now. Like, become more consistent. Keyword consistent. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. There is obviously rough edges. Keep the faith, man. Don't give up on Martinelli, because whatever people say, he's always been at it in the big games for us as well, man. He is frustrating, and that's why I said ideally I would love a winger that can play on the right, deputise and challenge for Saka, and the same with Martinelli. But I would say, where you look at our front three, new striker, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli's still part of it. Jesus could still be utilised in the squad in a bunch of roles, but that left wing ideally would be someone, or that would be someone I see. If a new winger came in, I think they're more likely to take Martinelli's space than Saka's, if that makes sense. Nobody cares about the supercomputer. It didn't really predict us much. On playing vertically with ball speed, it depends at the moment on the phase of play, and the behavior of the opponents is all about that. It's all about what the opponent is trying to do, how you can hurt them, where the spaces are, and identifying those moments to punish the opponents. Every game is different, and there are a lot of concepts and ideas around any way of playing. For us, these two are important, but there are many others, obviously. On he sees the game unfolding, I think they mean on how he sees the game unfolding. There are certain games that you imagine the type of game you're going to play, and you try to explain it to the players. This is what I think is going to happen. It's a dogfight. Word to Matt Turner. And why it's going to happen, and this is how we can provoke things happening as well. Then it's about trying to make it happen and then using it. Then he said, people, my memory is failing me. I'm more focused on the one last year. That's more positive. When asked about Spurs 2 years ago, on whether he trusts the current squad more from that side, I've always trusted my players. I mean, they're naturally going to trust them more. You've got better players. Then from there, you can perform. I make it right or wrong decisions to have the team to win or not to win the best possible way. That was a very particular match with many situations, but certainly we learned. We tried to evolve from there. We tried to get a squad that was much better equipped. We all had experiences that hopefully helped us develop and be better on Sunday. We have to show it again. Big up the Invincibles, people. When asked on, is there an advantage of playing every few days? I don't know. What I can tell you is the boys are going to be fully ready on Sunday to play against a great opponent. He then said we've got a decision to make on Timber. He said he doesn't know if it's too early. Maybe that's keeping people keeping them questions, keeping the opponents questioning. Big up Art. Art's the only one that asks something decent with the vertical thing. Like, nobody else here has asked anything decent, really. But big up Art. That's why, you know, that vertically thing was quite a decent question. And that's someone that's doing their research. Big him up, man. On Timber's availability, we've gone over that. We know about the fixture calendar list. Obviously, we've played 4 times while they've had 2 weeks off. We know about Postecoglou. We expect a hostile atmosphere. I don't think anyone expects anything. On nobody talking anymore about finishing above Spurs. I mean, what? There's been 2-3 years out of 20 odd that we haven't, and there's no accomplishments. You know, Spurs are not a team that wins Premier League titles and does all of those kind of things. It doesn't make sense. Big up yourself, CS, and smash the like button. Finishing above them, there's no brownie points. Emre, we hope, finishes above them. I just hope he's not a one-season wonder, because I was backing him since Emre played in that first year. Definitely not a one-season wonder, but he has only had one standout season in terms of goals. If I'm honest, Saka's got that consistency. The rest are a bit volatile in that regards. You look at the race for the title, boy. Spurs, Bournemouth, United, Everton, the task is simple. We've got one team in the bottom 6. Manchester City have 3 teams from 7th to 14th, and they play Nottingham Forest today, which I don't expect Nottingham Forest to get anything from that. I hope they jinx them. Ironically, Spurs have a big say on this title race. I think they're gonna thingy, man. I think they're gonna bend over backwards for Manchester City, if I'm completely honest with you lot. Mikel Arteta has spoken to Sky, people. What has he said? He said all the positive things they have, saying we have earned the right to be there. We can look from every angle, every stat. We deserve to be where we are. We've done it for 9 months. We can do it for the last 3 weeks. It's on us. We're going to make sure we do everything that we can. Arsenal have won the most games this season out of all Premier League sides, scored the most goals and conceded the fewest, but City are still the favourites. And that just shows almost how near enough impossible it is to pit Pep Guardiola and Manchester City to a Premier League title. He then said, when you're fighting for what we are fighting for, there is no room for tiredness. I think if I ask any player, do you want to play, they'll be knocking on my door, which is true, man. You know, you lot have been working hard for this, so let's make it happen. We've also kept the most clean sheets and conceded the fewest. And we've got bare guys that have scored from, you know, we've got a couple guys that are in double figures who scored from set pieces. Everything is lit. But it'd be a shame if it doesn't equate to winning a Prem. Pep has issued a warning to Arsenal saying his team normally hit their stride at the business end of the season, which we all know this. He said, it's impossible to play at the highest level all the time. But the most important thing is when you're not at your highest level, be consistent and take points and win games. And normally it happens to us at the end of the season, and that is so important. Fair enough, really and truly. Pep, I don't think anyone's disagreeing. Arsenal are looking to sign Brighton and Hove Albion winger Mitoma at the end of the season. That's come out from Spain. Spain talking on the Japanese player about what business between two English clubs are doing. Football is universal and news can come out anywhere, but I'd more believe it if it came from a Brighton, a local Brighton source, if that makes sense. We've been linked with Mitoma before, people. Apparently, it also says that we are keen on signing Kubo from Sociedad. I mean, I wonder if Tomiyasu's in charge of transfers. He's plugging his Japanese internationals. And to be fair, Mitoma, Kubo's very decent, you know. And on one hand, I'd rather Kubo. But with the Premier League and all of that jazz, I think I've seen Mitoma more under the lights. Not that he's doing a madness this season. I'd be more for that. We all know we need a wide man. I'm not sure what they will ask. Man United have also been linked. I'm not sure what Brighton would look to ask for. You know, they're not going to get what they would have got for him last season. But who knows, really and truly. Great player, man, really. We've been linked to him before, but allegedly Arsenal are tracking multiple midfield targets amid concerns a deal for Real Sociedad's Martin Zubimendi could be difficult. The Gunners wanted to sign at least one midfielder in the summer and have a long-standing interest in Zubimendi. We've gone over this before. Bruno Gomares and Douglas Luiz have been on the radar, but Aston Villa and Newcastle are reluctant to sell, and other targets are also under consideration. Zubimendi has spoken about his future and said he's happy at Sociedad and can't rule out staying there, but can rule out that he'll be there his whole career. He's been reluctant to leave so far and also has interest from Barcelona and Bayern Munich. I covered this yesterday. Check out that live stream, people. But apparently we've opened contract talks with Gabriel. His current deal is set to expire in 2027. He's got 2 years / 18 months on his contract. And, you know, he's been one of our best performing players. Definitely has a shout to win player of the season. So he deserves more money. And for Arsenal, tie him down, really, and follow what we've been doing with numerous players, really and truly. Lovely to see Gabriel, man. He's got that thunder in him, but he's kind of cut out the moments of the bozo moments, and he knows where to channel it. Arsenal are doing their research on new left backs and have taken a close look at Wolves defender Ryan Ed-Nouri. According to report, he's emerged as one of 6 left backs with the highest potential outside the Premier League. He's also under consideration at Chelsea. He's also been recommended to Liverpool and could be a target for United. He has previously from time to time been linked with City. Arsenal are the latest club to throw their hat in the ring. We have got Zinchenko and Kirill, but doubts over them remain. Arsenal allegedly have been watching the 22-year-old for a number of months and are putting in their research to bring the 22-year-old. And there has been links going back as far as January, but he's got a whole host of clubs interested in him, people. Eddie Howe's revealed Bruno Gomares is available for 100 million for 1 month this summer. City, Arsenal, PSG have all been linked. He just bought a house over there, and we already know about his release clause. Romano has spoken about it, but Eddie Howe said, we don't want constant speculation. It's not healthy for the player or us. Having the release clause was well planned and structured by the club in the sense that there's a finish point. It goes without saying what my thoughts on the Bruno situation are. We want to keep him. We want to build our team around him. He's an integral part of what we're doing. He seems very happy and settled, but you have one career to live. Apparently, Jorginho or Partey expected to leave, people, in the summer. We've seen Ornstein say this, but for what it's worth, I'd expect one of Partey or Jorginho to leave this summer. Perhaps that might be Thomas Partey because he could potentially raise some money. I don't say that with certainty because when he plays, we know how important he is. We also don't know yet what Jorginho will decide to do himself, given his contract is expiring. I'm sure Arsenal would love to keep him, but this is one of many areas that need to be resolved. Martinelli is our best left winger this season. Hasn't been the best for him. He got injured twice. I don't get why so many people on his case. But back Zinchenko, Jesus, and others, we got to get them at set pieces. Vicario's weakness. They are terrible from set pieces. See, when you're bang on the money with that, man. So anything we can do. William Saliba has the same number of Premier League clean sheets this season as Konate has in his entire career in England. Just shows how better defensively structured we are, people. Odegaard oozed out. Not going to lie, DG, you called it. I was unsure about Odegaard due to my high expectations with seeing Cesc, Cazorla, Ozil, Hileb, Nasri at this club. He's doing his thing. I'm a Wenger baby. Always believed in Odegaard. I'm not going to say his form has always been amazing or there weren't moments. But I always, especially when people join, every player, you know, how many players join a club in January mid-season and they get to grips. I would say Aubameyang off the top of my head has done quite well. At a time, Bruno Fernandes, or at least I'm sure Bruno Fernandes joined Man United in January. If I'm wrong, then I'm chatting nonsense. But he was firing, and I'm sure there's some others really and truly. But it's very difficult. And Odegaard was growing, and I think Odegaard has finally been provided with some real importance because at Madrid, you never know if he was going or staying. There's some stability, and I'm not saying people didn't believe in him at other clubs, but you've got Arteta that believes in him. He has a case to probably be Mikel Arteta's most important signing between him and Gabriel, really and truly, as for what they give us. But then Declan Rice is probably going to throw his hat into that ring. Apparently, El Nene won't be offered a new deal. I can't imagine that's breaking news. You'd imagine that isn't the thing. Apparently, he's got interest from Turkey and Saudi Arabia, so we do wish him all the best. What is this? Allegedly also have a strong relationship with Xerxes' agent. I mean, Kai Jarupkin, he's well at the club. Brighton are to submit an offer for Dewsbury Hall of Leicester, who just got promoted. He has been linked with Arsenal. Barcelona allegedly are rivaling Arsenal for the signature of Zubimendi. We've gone over the Kai Havertz stuff. Should I refresh the page and see if there's anything else? Chelsea have made an approach for Seska. I would love Benjamin Seska at the club. Fofana is being eyed as a Zubimendi plan B. I would love the Monaco centre midfielder. Who wouldn't want Bruno? We've gone over Gutierrez. I covered this in a video. Tierney's injury could scupper sale, and with 2 years left on Tierney's contract, I wonder what's happening there. In relation to Elise, apparently we're increasingly linked with a move for Elise of Crystal Palace. He's been on Mikel Arteta's radar for some time, and he showed some interest in signing him throughout this year. Apparently we won't be alone. Can't imagine you imagine we would be, because you have Manchester United, Chelsea, City, PSG, and Juventus all set to rival Arsenal for a signature. Apparently, Crystal Palace on Eze and Elise are saying 60 million a pop, people, and both of them are reportedly happy. I mean, Crystal Palace looks like a good unit. Their new manager's got them bopping ball, which is a long way away from what Roy Hodgson's doing. Obviously, you can't turn down certain moves if they're put on the table. But yeah, unless you got 60 million, that's a myth. Obviously, Elise signed a new deal and his release clause becomes active. And Eze, last summer, they were saying 70 million. So you have technically got a 10 million pound discount. So we'll have to see essentially in that regard. Obi Martin with 4 goals in 28 minutes. This kid is scary. Bro, he's bagging goals for fun. I fully expect Obi Martin to be part of the under-21s next season, if I'm honest with you, despite the fact that he's obviously 16, 15. Crazy, man. And I'm happy that he's probably going to sign a scholar at Arsenal. I think he signed with the same agency of Bukayo Saka, so that's always a good look, man. So, yeah, man. Bruno's always been terrible for United. I don't know any United fan that rates the guy. Now, there was a point where he was bagging and people loved him. And I remember Sky Sports, Gary Neville and that was saying he gets in the City side. Now he's revealed that, you know, he's just a high-volume player. There's not really, I can't say there's no quality, but he's just a high-volume player, if I'm completely honest with you. But yeah, on that note, though, people, I'm going to go and get something to eat. I'm going to go to the gym. I thought, let me go live quickly with you lot. Again, shameless settings. But again, you know, there's always content. There's always content. Appreciative to you lot tuned in. Again, we've been waffling about Tottenham versus Arsenal. We will be part of the watch-along. Or I hope you'll be part of the watch along tomorrow. Again, preview settings. Big up my guy George. Again, he's a Spurs fan. Unfortunately, as you can see, we went over Arsenal Spurs. I did cover the transfer news from yesterday, so check that out. Again, all links are being dropped. I went over Thomas Partey and said, should we keep him or sell him? And I'd love for you lot to watch that and let me know your debate or where you stand on that debate. And I think, at 4 p.m. UK time, people. Got a video coming out about Vlahovic. So, yeah, there's always content. I always look after you lot. So, yeah, man. On that note, God bless you all, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube. And, yeah, man, I'll see you lot all tomorrow, man. Peace.